just for him to hear the crowd in the stadium.
It's the unfamiliar positioning.
October Swern 2022, Accor Stadium. 82,000 people on their feet. And Maika Sivo, the most devastating finisher in the NRL, is sprinting for the corner with the ball in his hands and nothing between him and the try line except the turf itself. And then he drops it. The score is already 22-0 to Penrith, so in a pure football sense, the moment barely shifts the match. But for Sivo, it is the punctuation on a rivalry that has defined his entire career. A career in which he scored tries at a rate almost no one in the history of the competition can match. And still never got the one thing that mattered most. How does one of the game's most electric finishers spend 6 NRL seasons, score over 100 tries, and walk away without a premiership ring? And which 6 players made that journey feel, at times, absolutely impossible to understand that? You have to go back to the beginning, not 2019, when the NRL first saw what Sivo could do, further back. To a boy growing up in Momi Bay, Fiji, who barely knew what rugby league was until his early 20s. Sivo was a rugby union player until 2014. He was 22 years old before he ever pulled on a league jersey. By 2015, he was at Gundagai Tigers. By 2017, he was reportedly scoring 18 tries in 9 games for St Mary's in the Ron Massey Cup. And by 2019, he had signed with Parramatta and was about to make the entire competition stop and stare. That 2019 season was something else. 22 tries in 25 games. He ran onto the field in round 1 and never stopped. Powerful, physical, 6 feet tall and nearly 110 kilograms of pure forward momentum, with a fend that commentator Andrew Voss once said looked like he was charging defenders straight in the sternum. He did not glide, he steamrolled. And the conversation that year always came back to one man, Josh Addo-Carr, the Fox. Melbourne's electric left winger, pure pace, support play, long-range finishing. Where Sivo broke tackles, Addo-Carr went around them. Where Sivo made defenders look small, Addo-Carr made them look like they were standing still. With both players among the try-scoring leaders, the NRL was watching 2 completely different blueprints for what a wing could be. Every time Parramatta lined up against Melbourne, the question on the edge was always the same: power or speed? The rivalry established something important. Sivo was the best of one kind of player. And there were others, different kinds, who would test him in ways no fend in the world could solve. Brian To'o was one of them, the Penrith winger who turned the Western Sydney derby into a weekly war of attrition. To'o was not fast in the way Addo-Carr was fast. He was relentless. Low, powerful, grinding out yardage on every carry, making 10 meters feel like 20 through sheer will and an almost impossibly low center of gravity. He and Sivo were constantly compared as 2 power wingers from different sides of the city, and every contest between them was a study in controlled aggression. But when the 2022 Grand Final arrived, To'o proved on the biggest stage what Sivo could not. He scored 2 tries, covered 299 run meters, and broke 3 defensive lines. Sivo, meanwhile, dropped the ball cold over the try line. The final score, Penrith 28, Parramatta 12. That Grand Final had another Penrith name all over it. Stephen Crichton, the centre who had quietly become one of the pillars of a Penrith dynasty that had already won a premiership in 2021 and showed no sign of stopping. Crichton's game was not about brute force, it was about instinct. His defensive reads were elite, and he was the kind of centre who dismantled a winger's confidence through patience rather than confrontation. In that Grand Final, he scored Penrith's opening try, set the tone, and gave Sivo's edge no room to breathe. After 2023, Crichton moved to Canterbury as captain, and the fixture against Parramatta carried that same energy straight into a new chapter. Then there was Valentine Holmes. When Parramatta played the Cowboys, the matchup on Sivo's edge was never clean. Holmes, versatile enough to move between fullback, centre and wing without missing a beat, brought a defensive awareness that forced Sivo to earn every metre the slow way. In 2022, in the preliminary final, Sivo scored the match-winning try that sent Parramatta to their first Grand Final since 2009. That was the day it worked. But across multiple seasons and multiple meetings, Holmes made him grind for everything he got. And those contests, game after game, were always closer than the scoreboard suggested. Joseph Manu made him work in a completely different way. The Roosters' centre was not just physical, He was intelligent, one of the most complete defenders in the competition during his time at Sydney, a player who won the Dally M Centre of the Year award and the IRL Golden Boot in the same 2022 season. When Parramatta played the Roosters, Manu's assignment often came down to one thing: do not let Sivo's side of the field become a problem. And Sivo's most memorable early Roosters moment, a double in round 3 of 2019 in a losing effort, came precisely because that defensive structure had not yet settled into what it would become. Every subsequent meeting felt different, harder, more deliberate, and then there was Latrell Mitchell, South Sydney's most dangerous individual weapon, the fullback and sometimes centre who changed games not through system but through sheer physical force. Mitchell running at a defensive line was not a tactical problem. It was an endurance test. And when Sivo was running at Mitchell's defensive structure, the collision was the kind you heard across the entire stadium. Both players were capable of flipping a scoreboard through a single sequence of play. Neither blinked first. Their Parramatta Rabbitohs fixtures were always played at that temperature. By 2024, Sivo had scored more than 100 NRL tries. He had become the 4th highest try scorer in Parramatta's history. He had broken records, rewritten expectations, and done it all as a man who barely played league until he was in his mid-20s. And then, on October 23, 2024, Parramatta released him. 3 days later, he signed a 3-year deal with Leeds Rhinos under former Eels coach Brad Arthur. He told the press that Parramatta was his second home, that he would not play against them for any other NRL side. But here is the twist only sport can deliver. The season after Sivo left, Josh Addo-Carr, his 2019 try-scoring rival, the man who represented the absolute opposite of everything Sivo was as a footballer, joined Parramatta. He wore the blue and gold. He scored 19 tries in 2025 on the wing that Sivo had made his own. The Fox, occupying the corner where Sivo had steamrolled defenders and built a cult following across 6 seasons, 6 players, 6 careers worth of edges and tackles and contested meters, and 1 grand final night that still lingers. Addo-Carr, To'o, Holmes, Manu, Mitchell, Crichton, they tested Maika Sivo as completely as the competition allows. And in the end, all of it, every dropped ball, every bruising final, every rivalry that never quite resolved in his favour, got packed up and carried across the world to Leeds. Some things you don't get over. You just keep scoring tries.